Welcome to the Senior Techie Podcast. So picture this. Your printer has been sitting quietly, working perfectly fine all week.
Right, doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. And then the exact moment company comes over, it just decides to completely misbehave or drop off the network. Or maybe your streaming accounts mysteriously log you out and that password you carefully wrote on a sticky note it isn't working anymore.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded sticky note failure.
We've all been there. So who is the first person you usually call to sort all this out?
Well, I mean, in almost every household, that troubleshooting falls to the younger adults in the family, specifically the millennials.
Right. You call them over, they press like 3 buttons in rapid succession, the printer suddenly whirs to life, and they just walk away.
Leaving you sitting there.
Leaving you feeling a mixture of immense gratitude, but honestly, maybe a little bit of frustration too. I mean, it can feel alienating to watch someone navigate your own devices so effortlessly, especially when they seem, rushed or impatient while doing it.
Yeah, that dynamic is incredibly common. And really, the goal of our conversation is to decode what has famously been called the avocado toast generation.
Ah,
yes.
The famous avocado toast.
Right. We want to look past those stereotypes and understand the actual reality of millennials' lives. Because by understanding their relationship with technology, you can bridge this generational tech gap. You can feel much more empowered in your own digital life and communicate better with the younger adults who often end up playing IT support.
I think it really helps to think of millennials as well as reluctant digital tour guides.
Well, I like that phrasing.
Yeah, because if you look at their place in history, they didn't actually build the internet. They aren't the primary architects of modern computing.
No, not at all.
But they were the very first generation forced to live completely inside of it from a relatively young age. They were tossed into the deep end of the digital pool, and now society is just constantly asking them for directions.
That is so true. And to understand why they interact with technology the way they do and, why they might sometimes seem overwhelmed when helping you configure a tablet, we have to look at the actual timeline of their lives.
Right.
Because a lot of our cultural perception of millennials comes from, sensationalized news headlines, which often treat them as this perpetual youth trend.
Yeah, the media always seems to paint them as, like, college kids lounging on beanbag chairs, completely detached from adult responsibilities.
Exactly. But the demographic reality tells a completely different story. The millennial generation encompasses anyone born between 1981 and 1996.
So they are definitely not kids anymore.
Not at all. They are no longer the youth. They are in their early 30s to mid-40s. I mean, this is the demographic actively juggling mortgages, raising young children, handling complex professional demands, and like we said, simultaneously helping their older relatives sort out digital lives.
Right. They are carrying the heaviest load of prime adult responsibility right now.
Yeah, exactly. And their brains were also formed during a highly unique window of technological history. They really serve as the analog-digital bridge.
The bridge, right.
Yeah, this generation spent their formative childhood years in a completely analog world. I mean, they remember unfolding giant paper maps in the passenger seat of a car.
Oh, absolutely. And waiting days for physical photographs to be developed at the drugstore.
Yes. And they remember when you couldn't use the home phone if someone was, dialed into the internet with that awful screeching sound.
Right, the dial-up noise.
But then their adulthood has been spent in a totally digital reality, so they had to cross the bridge while it was actively being built right beneath their feet.
And that transition fundamentally changed the rhythm of how they exist.
Okay.
But beyond just the gadgets, there is massive economic scar tissue we have to factor in here.
Oh, absolutely. Huge economic factors.
This group came of age and entered the job market right around the 2007 to 2008 Great Recession. Steady, reliable work just vanished overnight. The traditional promise of, working hard for one company and retiring comfortably, that completely evaporated for them.
It really did.
You combine that sudden instability with crushing student debt, skyrocketing housing costs, and a labor market that shifted toward the gig economy, which demands total flexibility and constant hustle.
Constant hustle, yeah.
And you end up with a generation that is deeply cautious, heavily stressed, and highly practical.
Right. They had to become practical just to survive the economic whiplash.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit, though, because I know exactly what you, our listeners, are thinking right now.
Okay, go for it.
If this generation is so stressed and practical, Where does the overwhelming reputation for frivolous spending come from?
Ah,
I mean, we've all seen the endless articles criticizing them for buying ridiculously expensive avocado toasts and fancy complicated coffees while simultaneously complaining they can't afford a house. It just looks entirely contradictory.
it does look that way, yeah. But when you examine the economic data from the source material, the psychology behind that spending becomes very clear. Consider what happens when massive long-term goals like home ownership or a secure retirement are repeatedly delayed.
Or they just feel mathematically out of reach due to inflation and wage stagnation.
Exactly. When those big milestones are blocked, human nature doesn't just stop wanting comfort. Instead, spending naturally shifts toward immediate convenience and accessible micro-luxuries.
So the fancy coffee isn't the reason they can't afford a $400,000 house.
Not at all. I mean, when your daily time is vastly scarcer than your money because you're constantly hustling in an unstable job market, buying a $10 moment of peace in a highly pressurized day is a coping mechanism.
It's just finding an affordable, immediate comfort when the macro picture looks really daunting.
Yes, exactly.
Something I took away from these sources that really shifted my perspective is looking at the specific millennials in my own life, like a nephew, a younger colleague, a daughter.
Right, picture an actual people.
Yeah, and mentally listing the actual real-world pressures on them before defaulting to the headline stereotype. When you add up their job stress, the cost of their childcare, their daily logistical hurdles, their behavior makes complete sense.
It really does. And understanding that time-strapped, economically stressed reality perfectly explains their most defining and probably their most misunderstood behavior.
You're talking about the smartphones.
I am talking about the constant attachment to their smartphones, yes.
The glowing 6-inch rectangle. It is the ultimate point of friction between generations.
It really is. By 2019, over 9 in 10 millennials own smartphones, and their reliance on the internet and social media for daily functioning was nearly absolute. We really have to recontextualize what that screen actually represents.
Because to an older adult observing from the outside, it often looked like an unhealthy obsession, or mere vanity, or just chronic distraction.
Right, it looks like they are just scrolling past reality or ignoring the real world. But for them, it is a survival mechanism. That phone isn't a telephone anymore.
No, not at all.
It is a remote control for their entire life. It is their wallet, it's their calendar, it's the boarding pass for a flight, the GPS routing them around unexpected traffic to get to a job interview.
And the central hub for ordering groceries while simultaneously waiting in line to pick up a child from school.
Exactly. Their entire logistical infrastructure is housed in that device.
Let's apply this to a very specific, universal scenario, the dinner table dilemma.
Oh, this is a classic one.
You are sitting at a nice family dinner, having a pleasant conversation, and the millennial across the table reaches for their phone and starts tapping away.
Yep.
From the older adult's perspective, this feels incredibly rude. It feels like a rejection, as if the people on the screen are more important than the people in the room.
And it certainly feels that way. But consider the invisible labor happening behind the screen. Yes, sometimes they might just be rudely checking a social media feed, but very often they are frantically texting a babysitter to make sure a toddler went to sleep.
Right.
They might be urgently approving a bank alert so a critical auto payment doesn't bounce. Or they might be quickly pulling up the recipe they just promised to send you.
Wow. Yeah.
What looks like pure distraction is usually them managing a very tight digital leash. They are keeping the wheels of their life from coming off in real time.
So how do we handle that moment? As a listener, genuinely trying to connect with younger relatives, how do you react when they pull out their phone mid-conversation without feeling offended or getting passive-aggressive?
The source material suggests a profound mindset shift. The next time a younger person pulls out their phone at the table, consciously pause and ask yourself, what job is that phone doing right now?
What job is that phone doing right now? I love that.
Just asking yourself that internal question shifts your immediate emotional reaction from judgment to curiosity.
Wondering what job the phone is doing diffuses so much tension. And because millennials manage their lives through these devices, they have developed incredibly sharp, hard-won digital instincts.
They're sharp, yes.
Which makes them your absolute best resource for navigating modern technology. But to tap into that resource effectively, we first have to bridge the communication gap, and that means translating the technical jargon that often makes seniors feel left behind.
The vocabulary of technology is often the biggest barrier. I mean, at the Senior Techie, we know how alienating it is to hear a string of acronyms and buzzwords. It makes the technology feel like magic rather than mechanics.
Right.
So let's break down some of this unfamiliar jargon. We'll explore how to explain these concepts using physical, real-world analogies, focusing on how they actually work beneath the surface so you feel in control.
Let's start with the router. The plastic box sitting in the corner with the blinking lights. We know it gives us Wi-Fi, but what is its actual mechanical function?
So think of the router as the highly efficient post office sorting facility for your home's digital mail.
Okay, a post office.
Right. The internet signal comes into your house from the outside world like a massive, chaotic pile of unsorted data. If it all just flooded in, your devices wouldn't know what to do with it.
They'd just be overwhelmed.
Exactly. Your router's job is to take that incoming information, assign a unique local address to every single device in your house, and correctly route the specific data packets to the right destinations.
So it actively manages the traffic flow.
Precisely. It creates a local network inside your walls. It ensures that the heavy data for a high-definition movie goes strictly to your smart TV, the text-only email goes to your iPad, and the software update goes to your phone.
It splits the bandwidth so there aren't traffic jams.
Yes. Without the router actively sorting and directing those invisible packets of data every millisecond, the internet is just a useless, unreadable signal at your front door.
Understanding that traffic flow makes the blinking box far less mysterious. Now here is a term I want to tackle. A phishing text, spelled with a PH.
Ah, yes. Phishing.
We hear warnings about this constantly. A phishing text is basically a digital con artist wearing a fake delivery uniform knocking on your front door.
I think the fake uniform illustrates the deception really well. How does the actual mechanism of that deception operate, though?
Well, it relies heavily on manufacturing panic and spoofing authority. You get a text message that looks incredibly official. It uses the exact logo of the postal service or your specific bank.
Right, it looks so real.
Yeah, and the text claims a package is permanently delayed or your account has been locked due to suspicious activity. They create an artificial sense of urgency so you panic and stop thinking critically. They look like they belong there, but they don't.
And the ultimate goal is to get you to open the door.
Right. In the digital world, opening the door means clicking the link they provided in the text. That link doesn't go to your real bank. It goes to a fake website designed to look exactly like your bank, purely to capture the password you type in.
It's a trap.
Yeah. Once you click the link and enter your details, you've essentially handed the con artist the keys to your house.
And that manufactured urgency is the exact reason two-factor authentication, or 2FA, has become mandatory for so many services. The name sounds overly technical, but the mechanism is just a layered security gate.
How does the second factor actually protect us if a hacker already stole our password through one of those phishing texts?
So imagine your standard password is the physical key to your house. If a thief steals that key, they can just walk right in.
Right. Terrible scenario.
But two-factor authentication means that you need both your house key to unlock the front door, and you need a constantly changing secret handshake with a security guard waiting just inside.
Okay, so what is the digital equivalent of that rotating handshake?
It is usually a temporary 6-digit code sent directly to your physical smartphone or generated by a specific authenticator app.
Oh.
The brilliant part of this mechanism is that the code expires every 30 seconds. So even if a hacker in another country successfully steals your password, your key, they still cannot access your bank account because they do not have your actual physical phone in their hand to provide that secondary time-sensitive code.
That makes total sense. And because 2FA prevents hackers from using stolen passwords, it naturally brings up the question of how we are supposed to manage all our complex passwords in the first place.
Right, the password fatigue is real.
It is. We are told never to use the same password twice, but human memory cannot hold 40 different strings of random letters and numbers. This is where a password manager comes in.
Trusting a single program with all your passwords can feel risky at first glance. How does a password manager keep everything secure while actually making daily web browsing easier?
So think of a password manager as a highly secure, heavy-duty digital bank vault that installs directly into your web browser or your smartphone.
Okay, a bank vault.
Right. Instead of memorizing dozens of passwords or writing them on sticky notes, you place all your login credentials inside this encrypted vault. You only need to memorize one single, incredibly strong combination, your master password, to unlock the vault door.
And what happens mechanically when you visit a website?
Well, this is the real magic of the tool. When you navigate to your bank's website, the password manager recognizes the site and automatically securely hands out the correct password to log you in.
Oh, that is convenient.
And crucially, it protects you against those phishing scams we just talked about. If you accidentally click a fake link that looks like your bank, the password manager analyzes the hidden website address. It realizes the URL doesn't match your real bank, and it will flat out refuse to hand over the password.
Oh, wow. So it acts as an automatic built-in safeguard. When you break down the mechanics like that, it ceases to be intimidating. It is just a very efficient digital tool. And millennials normalize this entire app-based lifestyle banking, scheduling doctors, managing health information securely. They are uniquely positioned to help you set up these exact systems.
They really are.
Yeah.
But knowing how valuable their knowledge is, we have to navigate the actual transaction of asking for help.
Yeah.
How do you approach a younger relative without triggering a generational clash?
Right.
Like, how do you ask them to set up a password manager without getting a heavy, frustrated sigh in response?
The absolute golden rule here is to start with curiosity, not diagnosis. Remember what we discussed about their economic and logistical stress?
Right.
Young adults are exhausted from being analyzed and explained to before they are ever heard. If you open a tech support request with a lecture about their generation's work ethic or a sarcastic comment about how much time they spend staring at their screen,
the conversation dies immediately.
Immediately, they will put up a defensive wall.
You have to open the door by validating their expertise. The source material outlines some fantastic, specific questions you can ask that invite real, meaningful answers rather than defensive ones.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Instead of asking, what part of modern life feels the hardest to keep up with right now? Or, on a more practical note, what specific app on your phone actually makes your daily life easier?
I like that one.
Or a great opener for tech help. What digital habit should I learn to avoid getting scammed?
Those questions work beautifully because they position the millennial as the expert in the room. You are demonstrating that you respect their lived experience in the digital world.
Let me interject on behalf of the older adults listening, though, because this dynamic sounds a bit one-sided.
How so?
It sounds like we are just taking lessons from the younger generation and bowing down to their digital superiority. What does the older adult actually bring to the table in this tech transaction?
That is the most beautiful part of this dynamic, and it is a massive mutual advantage. The millennial has the technical friction. They intuitively know how to spot the sketchy URL link, and they understand the mechanics of navigating complex software menus.
Right.
But seniors possess a superpower that no amount of screen time can ever teach: superior human judgment.
Decades of navigating the real world.
That's the core difference. You have decades of experience observing people, analyzing hidden motives, and reading tone. The underlying psychology of a scammer has not changed in 3,000 years. Only the digital delivery mechanism has changed.
That is such a profound point.
While a younger person might know how the routing technology works, you know how human manipulation works. When you pair the technical instinct of the millennial with the psychological wisdom of the senior, both generations become vastly smarter and infinitely safer.
It becomes a true partnership. The senior spots the emotional manipulation and the millennial spots the technical flaw, which leads to a practical takeaway: trade skills. The next time you sit down with a younger relative and ask them to walk you through setting up two-factor authentication, actively offer something in return. Share a practical life lesson, a tangible household skill, or a piece of hard-earned perspective about navigating career stress.
It shifts the entire relationship from a frustrating one-way IT support transaction into a genuine exchange of generational wisdom. Before we wrap up our analysis of these sources, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, looking ahead at how technology continues to accelerate.
Okay, what is it?
Right now, millennials are the generation standing closest to the control panel of modern life. They are running the systems.
But technology is evolving faster than ever, with artificial intelligence and spatial computing.
True. So you have to wonder, 50 years from now, when millennials eventually reach their own senior years, will they be the ones helplessly asking for help from the next generation to navigate whatever new technology exists? Or will their entire lifetime of constant forced digital adaptation make them the very first generation to never fall behind?
Wow. Will they age out of the tech, or are they permanently wired for the upgrades?
It is a fascinating question, and I guess we will just have to wait and see. This podcast was brought to you by The Senior Techie. It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you'd like to receive their free newsletters, you can subscribe at subscribe.theseniortechie.com.